PRI.
I remember going to dinner with some friends, and they're like, "Why are you doing it? Is it to make a lot of money?" I went, "Well, no, I never really thought that would be an option." So that's not why you started the company. And then I said, it was because I want to be well respected in whatever I do. Now, as I evolve, I find it genuinely more rewarding when whatever you do for a living can help better the world that you live in. It absolutely has a much better feel than having respect for what you do for a living. So if you look at the root of what gets me going and makes me feel alive, is going to be the fact that this company is used as some kind of opportunity to make some kind of difference in the world. That's what I would like to feel would be validation for PRI Productions' very existence.
That was Randy Goodwin, and this is Beyond the Bold, a new podcast by PRI Productions, where we explore beyond the surface of the bold city of the South into the heartbeat of Jacksonville to learn about our city, our people, and what makes it come alive. We want to uncover Jacksonville's history, culture, art, and industry, and connect its unique voices as the city evolves. In our first episode, we sat down with Randy, President and CEO of PRI Productions, one of the largest full-service event production companies in the Southeast. Anyone who has spent any time in Jacksonville's business community will likely recognize him, as he seems to have a hand in just about everything. We talked to Randy about what it takes to build from the ground up, the importance of community, navigating through the COVID-19 pandemic, and what he sees in the future for him and his company. Our host Russell kicked things off by asking a little about his life before starting his business and what motivated him to step out on his own.
You are best known as the face and voice of PRI, but we want to start by taking it back a little bit to Randy before PRI. If you can just tell us a little bit about your life growing up here in Jacksonville.
I was born a very young man. Actually, I wasn't born in Jacksonville. I was actually born in Portsmouth, Virginia, but I have no memory of living there. I moved down here before I turned 5. I grew up in the Arlington part of Jacksonville. I went to Sandalwood High School. I was really in church all the time, even to the point where I was getting to the point when I was in my teenage years, I was going to church so much. I'm probably the only person on the planet that your parents had to sit down and say, "We think you're going to church too much." But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music. I taught myself to play piano. I started doing some stuff there in church, and then I got into Christian music, and I did a lot of that, did that for a few years. But during all that, I came to work at a company called Brandon's Camera, which is actually out of the same building that we're in right now. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the minister of music of my church was actually the president of Brandon's. So I would leave. I left this job 5 times. And every time we lived off love offerings, and that's where you pass the plate, mm-hmm. you know, and that's what you live off of. Sometimes there just wasn't enough love in the offering, so I had to come back to work. He hired me back 5 times, and every time I would keep going back on the road, thinking I'm going to, be doing that for the rest of my life. Eventually, I can't help it, but it was just it's tough to make a living that way. So eventually I sort of focused more on Brandon's, and I thought I was going to stay here forevermore. But again, a lot of times in people's life, you think whatever it is you're doing, that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing really good. I was, I think I had a very good work ethic once I turned around 27-ish. That's when I really started taking the job serious. And then here it was just before I turned 30, I think it's right around 30 is when I found out that they're selling the business. And the new guy coming in, we've all worked for people that maybe we didn't particularly think the world of. And the guy that was going to buy the company I worked for, we just didn't see eye to eye. which is fine. I mean, it's his business. He's spending his money to buy it. But I can tell the day a due diligence is when you go through everything and try to figure out, do you really want to do this? And he was going through that, and I could tell right then and there he didn't like me, and I could already tell I didn't like him because he was losing all that family feel. He was making it all about just numbers, period numbers. He didn't really care about any stories whatsoever. So the day he bought the company is the day I actually walked into the corner office of this building and resigned. Now, 2 months later, I started my own business.
Along the way, in growing up here and through church and at Brandon's, were there any like mentors, especially in the business aspect, that you kind of looked up to that kind of pushed you forward?
I would like to think there is, and I would like to think in some ways for what knowledge I have acquired through the years that I mentor others. But as far as me personally, I didn't know anyone that owned their own business. I didn't know anyone to reach out to. I didn't have money either. I didn't have anything that the world would say you need. There was a story years after I started my company, by the way, and things were doing pretty good for PRI. The Chamber of Commerce, the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce, used to have a thing called an Adopt a Business program where you would attend these classes about how to start a business or how to expand your business in the community. And on their graduating class, that was going to be there at FFCJ downtown campus. I was the guest speaker. And before they introduced me, they said, you got to have 5 things. And everybody knew these things off the top of their head. It was part of the graduating class. You have to have a good banker, a good lawyer, a good CPA, a sound business plan, and cash to live off of for a good, I want to say they said 8 months or something. And after they said all that, like everybody in the class said it. And it was a whole graduating class on the stage there at downtown campus. I said, okay, now here is our guest speaker, Randy Goodwin. And I walked up there and said, oh my God, I had none of that. And I can look back at it now that it's probably good that I had none of that because I'm sort of stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to learn everything the hard way. So if somebody gave me money or if somebody said, here's the way you do it, I would have did probably what they said and it would have never worked and I wouldn't have been taught anything. So in everything that I felt like I've ever done right was probably truly a result of really doing it wrong. And honestly, probably doing it wrong multiple times. Probably doing it wrong multiple. I'm not going to bore you, but I have tons of examples that I've screwed up until I eventually realized, well, that doesn't work. And anything that I've ever accomplished in my life is probably a result of me screwing it up so much and eventually being stubborn enough that I can finally learn and try to figure out, okay. So the older I get, the smarter I get. So sometimes if I keep screwing up, man, I'm going to get really good.
Yeah. I feel like that's true for a lot of people because I look back on things that I've even done 5 years. I'm just looking back. I was so naive and so dumb 5 years ago that I don't even recognize who I was. And like everything I thought and believed then, I'm just like, my worldview has completely changed just within 5 years.
Was there any decisions that you ever chose like not to do because you were worried about screwing up, or do you just go for it and do like kind of a trial and error approach? Or did you ever stop and say like, I'm not going to wade into this because I don't know what I'm doing and it's not going to look good when it crashes and burns? Or
I guess my comment on that would be probably about everything, and probably to the point of saying that what's that saying? If you really don't know, it's better to keep your mouth shut than to open your mouth and confirm everybody's concern that you really don't know. So with that said, when the more I kept my mouth shut, the more people didn't know what I didn't know. Yeah. And then I will realize the difference is when I got away, I mean, be real, at the beginning, there was no really internet to mount anything. I just tried my hardest to try to figure out what were they talking about. Yeah. So nervous. Yeah, I think the biggest one is when I got called in after PRI was pretty young, and I was asked. I was already working. Our company was already working with the Jaguars, which I thought was the coolest thing ever, just from a personal perspective. I got called into an office, and they asked me if I would help them in the game production and the fan engagement, and I I said, sure. I have no earthly idea what does that mean. And I said, yes. I walked out of the office all excited, but not even sure what I'm even excited about. So that is validation of the fact, yeah, I think, but that's the only way we've ever really accomplished stuff is you have to sort of, I guess, what's that other saying? There's a ton of sayings out there, I know, but there's
Fake it till you make it.
Well, yeah, and also the without the stress or without the pressure.
Like, something like without the pressure, you never make a diamond or something like that.
Kind of like no pain, no gains kind of.
If everything's an autopilot, then you realize you're not seeing.
Yeah, the pressure creates something better than you could have created without it.
The only way this company's ever moved forward is a result of us feeling some kind of stress. It's the only time that I've ever felt like that I've focused my attention on something that's not going well. If everything is going really well, you're probably seeing the worst of me. Because you think you got it.
Yeah.
And you don't got it.
Is there any kind of like in the past where like decisions you made that you would love to have a chance to kind of do over? And are there any decisions that you made in the past where you're just like, I nailed that decision at the time?
I would probably say that I don't feel that I nailed it. I would say that's probably been not a moment that I really feel. I think it's more about the fact that things that I've done, I said, that could have gone a lot worse. So that's true that I feel, you got through this. As far as regretting decisions, oh my gosh. I think I'm no different than everybody else. I think in everything, whether it's personal or professional, you would have, if you could go back in time and redo it, you'd probably reword it different, or your body language would have been different, or your response would have been different. I think if there's anything remotely different that would be about me responding to that one is that I do have tendencies to still to this day go home and evaluate what I said, what I did, how I expressed it, what I did, and why can't you learn? And why do you have to be so emotional sometimes in your response? Because you really might be caught up in something that happened 5 minutes before that, but you're just so I wish I could get past that. But I guess what the saying I remember in church is, and don't ever ask God for patience. He's going to make you wait. So that's sort of my situation is I wish I could learn, but the only way I tell you from the comment earlier, the only way I learn is you got to put me in that situation. And I hope I'm better at it, but I can tell you even about today already, you don't do very well when you have any kind of emotional response. When there's non-emotion happening, that was the one Randy I wish everybody could remember. Not the emotional Randy. The emotional Randy, I absolutely beat myself up on it, and not to the point that it's super bad. Except I just wish I could be better. But who doesn't?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people know different people who are very inviting and very welcoming. The kind of people who, as soon as they meet you, you're kind of like your best friend. Do you consider yourself kind of like that person when you meet people that you just instantly kind of connect with them and develop a relationship with them?
I wonder if you're talking about just in general, or if you're talking about maybe in business when I meet people. Or you just?
I think in general, because I've seen you out with people, especially at some of these conferences and things, or the chamber meetings, where you don't hesitate to go up to people or to talk with people that either you kind of barely know or just new people in general that you're just meeting. But you also do that on a personal level, I've seen.
I appreciate that, but I do think I'm an extrovert, introvert. Meaning when I'm out in the community and all, it's easy to sort of do that. But there's also that side of me that when it's all said and done, that I do find a lot of peace at home. And I found a lot of peace with just a small group of people where you can just sort of just relax. So I don't think there's anything that concerns me about that, except for the fact that the way I would relate to people is no different than when I've tried to counsel people that's worked here or others that are trying to start their business, which I've tried to talk to several Not sure if I helped or not, but I would say sometimes the best thing to do is leave your business cards at home. And I think I learned that through the years when I would go out there and I would be very active in all the area councils of the Chamber of Commerce or other, sort of organizations where business people get together, and they're all shoving these business cards at you like crazy, and you have no connection to it whatsoever. You get home, you have like 10 business cards. You don't know anything. You don't know what they look like. You don't know anything about them. What are you doing with this? Same thing I'm doing. For a while there, when I first started, you collected them. And you had this huge drawer that said, you don't have a connection with any one of these people. And you think you did good because you got the card and you passed out all your cards. I absolutely would tell people, leave your business cards at home and quit hiding behind the company that you work for and try to be an individual. And maybe when I guess you can't do buffets much anymore. But when you're in the buffet line or something like that, talk about the food, talk about something, talk about what you did. If you see that they're wearing some kind of pin of something or comment on it, if you know who they're with or something, comment and try to see if you can make it personal, because I do believe very firmly that this entire city, I assume the world might be like this, but our community has always been very much relationship. I assume the world's like that. I can only speak on behalf of this immediate community. Relationships are everything. And so when that's said, if I can get to know them as an individually, and so do that even when you get out there, is my thoughts, is saying eventually they're going to ask me what I do. Don't walk up and tell them what you do for a living. You just lay down the groundwork that this is going to be a short conversation and there's no personality into what you do for a living.
Do you think that community feel impacted how you built the business, how you grew the business, and your involvement in Jacksonville?
Yes, and 100% of the way. It's not the only way to build a business, and it's not the only way to build a business like ours, because when it comes down to it, what people think we are and what we really do for a living do not mirror each other. You have to take it down to the core of who we are. We rent stuff to make a living. We're a rental company. I do everything in my power to not actually. These are just tools. These are just, but that's really what you do. That's really what you do. You just rent equipment. You just try to position it that there's more to it than what it is. But that's really what we do. And I hate saying that because I don't want to feel like I'm just a rental company, which there's nothing wrong with being a rental company. I just want to feel like we're more engaged and we're more concerned and we're more caring and we're more involved and we have more sense of a measurement of trying to reach the goals that you're trying to achieve, whatever that may be.
So how do you think, pitching yourself as more of a community company versus a rental company, do you see PRI fitting into the puzzle of Jacksonville on a business sense, as a personal sense, as a city?
I think absolutely we fit in more in a community involvement, I would like to think we do, than I do more as a rental house. There are people out there that think we don't own any equipment. Isn't that crazy? That we don't have any assets. There's people that think we just call other people to get all that stuff, that we literally are a company that's involved with, that does nothing but really, which is totally fine. Yeah, we organize things and we call everybody else.
What do you tell people when they ask you what you do?
Well, again, you've heard me say it jokingly. I said, what we do is if a group of people get together, there's a purpose for PRI. And then it became illegal for a group of people to get together to make a living. So there was no purpose for PRI. And that's the part that got the best of me.
The live event industry is booming. Everyone is riding a wave of bounty and celebration. Upcoming mega events like the NFL Draft in Nashville and music festivals like Coachella and South by Southwest are going to be bigger and more spectacular than ever before. The creativity afforded by all of this is pushing the industry to expand the scope of what is possible. And then, seemingly overnight, the entire industry becomes effectively illegal. We are all coping with the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. We all now understand what it means to be locked down, unable to work, unable to ensure the safety of your loved ones, and unsure of the security of the future for you and your family. But how do you deal with being responsible for all of your employees, all of whom you have a personal relationship to? When your business doesn't slow down, it doesn't start to dry up, but gets shut off completely at the source, overnight. How do you answer questions that no one knows the answer to when everyone is looking at you?
There was no plan. There's no one you're going to call that's going to give you a plan. There's a ton of people that are trying to offer ideas, but if you dove into a lot of the ideas wind up, I feel like that was honestly their self-preservation of how it could work for them. So I figured that out when I was reaching out to tons of people that nobody really had your answers because nobody understands what the heck is going on in the world.
Being well-versed in a trial and error approach to things probably helps when you're faced with a novel situation that you never...
I'd like to think so, but I'm also acknowledging I've never in my life dealt with something like this. When 9/11 happened, within hours, everything, as far as the eye could see that PRI had business, went away within hours. Back then, we did hard copies of everything. If something was canceled and went into a pile, the pile just became higher than I could ever remotely imagine. It's like, we're done. We are done. Okay, so if we compare it to that, the difference was when the world went through the tragedy of what happened, the horrific issues of 9/11, it only took a few days before there was a swelling of American people that said, we have to show the rest of the world we're not afraid. What happened? They had to get together. If people get together, there's a purpose for PRI. We were only derailed for a short period of time. Now here comes 2008. 2008 comes. Economy crashes like crazy. Boy, we weren't prepared for that one either. But all theme things were gone. Nobody wanted to theme anything. All massive, large gatherings of anything we were a part of, they're all gone. So we came back to the root of saying, I started off as AV, audiovisual. Whether it was companies trying to talk to their staff and they're not used to having the staff meetings of all employees, it turns into podiums and sound systems and wireless mics and simple. We go back to the roots of it, 8-foot tripod screens, some, a couple of small projectors. We still had work going on. The big things were gone. They weren't really interested much in your Shafari chairs. They're not really interested much in your Egyptian themed props. That just became gone. And then you realize at that time when the economy was crashing like that, I mean, it was absolutely, in a sense, disastrous if you would have if your company brought together a large group of people and tried to spend a lot of money.
From a PR sense, right?
We did an event for a major bank that we were going to Orlando. We were poised to do it, okay? They had the money. They already paid us, maybe over half deposit. And it was a major thing we were doing in Orlando. When it's all said and done, they had all the money. They were good. It was a major bank. They called us before we were driving off, and they said, the whole thing's canceled. Keep the deposit. Tell me if I owe you any more money. We had the money. It's not that. It's the point about it is my biggest fear is that single video camera in the front of the hotel could destroy our entire major bank. We ain't coming. But it's not about the money. It's about the optics of what we're doing. That became a very hard message to me of recognizing that you have to pivot. You have to evolve. And so I do take some of those things into what we're dealing with right now. But never did I see anything like this.
I would like to briefly set up a small timeline of just how fast everything with Corona hit, because it hit America really fast. Within days, everything just went from it's fine to stay at home, don't come out, within just days of each other. And then kind of walk us through the steps of half the staff is furloughed, to 3 weeks later, you were able to bring the entire staff back at full wages, at full pay for 40 hours a week. Can you briefly describe that?
We don't deserve a pat on the back for all of that, but I appreciate the fact that what you're saying might be actually on paper look that way, but there's so much more going on at that moment. First of all, our company was so busy in December. In December seemed shorter because Thanksgiving was later. We didn't get to have our holiday party for our staff. Then it turned into us trying to do it in January. That didn't happen. Then it turned into February becoming challenging because work was doing really well. So we decided that we're doing it in March and we're going to have it all here. We had all these great plans. And it started taking a lot of attention. And so we got some staff people that worked really hard putting this whole sort of game show idea and everything. Well, it started taking more and more attention as we were building up close to it. So now day and night this became that. While you're still trying to keep the company doing its normal work and stuff. So you get so wrapped up in that, you get sort of excited about it. You're not doing your normal routine. You're not watching the news. You're not doing anything. You're so focused in. You're bringing in the people from your offices up in Asheville, North Carolina. You're worried about the food that the people are eating. You're trying to figure out the breaks that they're going to have, all the prizes that they're going to get. We're more focused on gift cards than we are recognizing the world is about to just flatline. And then, so it wasn't just the day of the party. It was the days building up the party. You're rehearsing here at night. You're focused on this. Even when you're not doing this, you're mentally there. You don't want the distraction. You're so focused on the party. You get the whole company together. It's now Wednesday. You did all that stuff the few days before then. You're not paying attention to anything. You know about it, but you don't know about it. You're in the party here. The first thing you say in the party is, everybody turn off your cell phones. Stop watching everything. Focus on this. This is all about you. Let's just celebrate here. Y'all worked really, really hard. Things are doing really, really great. I'm saying all this stuff. I'm going around telling everybody how awesome they are and how great we are and the company's doing really well. You don't pay a bit of attention. The party ends. You take a few of the group and you go out there to Chart House down the road here. You continue the party going. You're still not watching the news. You keep it all going. You're not paying a bit of attention. You go to sleep. You wake up Thursday morning. You do your normal routine at that moment because it's over with, and you always wake up at 2 minutes till 7, Randy. You have this automated light that just sort of turns on the lights in your room. 2 minutes till 11. You know why? I got 2 minutes to turn on the TV because to get my day started, I have this routine that I have to hear ding, 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 and the Today Show starts. It's a total burning in my mind here. Ding, ding, ding. Your world's screwed, Randy. You start watching the news and it's like, oh my God, is this really happening? Is this us? Is this what's going on? You come into work and you got to clean up from a pretty major party. At the same point, you keep hearing stuff. Now you turn on your TV in your office. Wow. So how fast things move by the end of the day, Thursday, and I'm still saying goodbye to the people that are flying back to Asheville saying, what's going on? I'm like, I'm supposed to have an answer. Friday hits, it's even worse. You already have this plan so that by Monday, you're starting to cut like 80% of your staff. Wow. I can keep on, but I don't know how far you want to go. But the bottom line is the first thing you do is because you're a wuss, Randy, in so many ways, you cry. And you cry ridiculously. And the biggest times that you cry is when nobody's around. Because you don't think you're smart enough. You don't understand how to do this. Then you absolutely, the first group of people that come at you, you should have prepared. For the pandemic, I want to just punch them in the face with everything I got. Because there's not enough money that I think I could have put away that I wouldn't have made decisions to try to help out this company. I couldn't, there's nothing you think I could have put away what kind of money to think that you're going to have zero business.
How do you prepare financially for a
I don't know what I
pandemic
would do.
with no exact, it starts here, it ends here. Like that you can prepare for. But going into this, you're just like, stay at home. We don't know when you can come back out. That's not something you can realistically prepare for. No.
But and the emotions tied to it. And I will tell you, there were times when I started the company, even back in 1984, is very mirroring to what I went through when this whole Corona in that first 2 weeks was like. I have tendencies to draw in. I have tendencies to be in a dark room. I have tendencies to try to say, get smarter, get smarter, get smarter, get smarter. What do you do? What can you do? What can you do? What can you do? Because everybody that you feel like, whether it's family, friends, loved ones, whatever it winds up being, they all want to know, well, you got this figured out, right? And it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm trying to understand. Those are the times I would probably feel loneliest, where you feel like, but there's no one really to call because nobody else really has the answer either. So it's tough. It's a fine when you lose because you gave it your best shot and you just didn't win. It's tough when you didn't do anything wrong, the staff didn't do anything wrong, and it all still just went away. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So that was a very, everybody went through their own stories about how they had to feel. But in my situation, I drew in, I did a lot of walking, find a bunch of I assume everybody else probably did this in some capacity. You find the songs that are somewhat positive, encouraging to you that you can hang on to, and you try to read deeper into the meaning of the songs than what you should. And is there some kind of messaging in there? And you're trying to take every information, but you can't get your eyes off the news, and there's nothing good coming out. It was tough, but did I rely maybe probably someone 2008? Yes. Did I rely maybe someone on 9/11? Yes. Did I rely someone when the company first started? Yes. But the reality of the fact is nothing prepared me for this. And we're not done. The challenges are still there, and they're real, but they're real with all of us.
Well, every worker who was furloughed or laid off in some sense, I think, well, maybe not everybody, most people saw that coming, like, especially in this industry, because we're all connected through social media pages with other industry professionals, and you see the wave kind of coming, and we have everyone's worried about how they're going to take care of their family or their parents, and we have peers to talk to about that, like, how are you doing this, what other work are you going to pick up, how are you paying your bills. I'm responsible for my family. It kind of ends there, and you're responsible, you feel, I'm sure, for your extended family, which is your employees. People on the governmental level are responsible for their city, which is, I would imagine, a big weight. But we have peers to go to about our jobs and our families. Do you have peers that you've talked to throughout this process that made it feel like less like you were kind of on an island with everybody looking at you for answers?
I guess there's two parts of it. The first thing you were talking about is that, did I feel a sense of responsibility to all the people that looked towards me? Yes. And I think most of the tears and most of the anxiety and the sleepless nights that I had was a result of the fact that I do, not that the staff looks at me that way, but at the point about it is they entrusted, you take that responsibility where you feel like that they entrusted you, that they can eat. As long as they hold up their end of the bargain, then you hold up your end of the bargain.
Yeah, their contract with you.
So the weight of that was intense when it's like, I can't hold up my end of the bargain because I never could foresee anything like this coming our way. So that probably caused more weight on me, and even greater weight than self-preservation. I would consider, can I try to figure out how to even start breaking this whole thing apart and trying to figure out, can you just try to figure out that everybody else can land on their feet somewhere else? I mean, you go through that phase. Of course you go through that phase. I can't imagine a business not going through that phase. And you weren't really thinking as much about self-preservation as maybe you would think I would, or that business owners would. Maybe a lot of them are like that. I'm looking at the fact that there were some people that put a lot of trust in me, and I'm letting them down. It's easy to say it's not your fault, but no, they got to eat, and you just cut them off from being able to eat 80% of them, and now you have that huge weight that there was not 2 minutes that could go by that this isn't weighting you down. Then you got to say, you know what, I'm going to pull every resource I possibly can humanly think of, and say, I'm. If we go down, there's some sense of no regrets. You held nothing back.
You can't say you didn't try everything.
You didn't hold back for give it everything you got. And we're still not through it. So I'm still in that phase where you're all chips in. I'm not at that age, even as I'm getting older, where I'm ready to think about the exit. You're not done. So I live without saying, you haven't seen the last of me. I'm not done. So that determination, eventually after 2 weeks of crying, you eventually pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you say, I ain't done with this. So let's go.
That sounds like you're talking about trying to save a person almost. And a lot of people look at CEOs and owners of big corporations, and they look at the corporation has rights like a person, but the corporation's not a person. It sounds like you're treating your company like someone would treat a person that they're trying to save. And maybe you've always done that. That could be part of the reason that you've been successful over the years.
Well, I think the biggest thing I would say about that one is at the very beginning, with very little direction. The original name of this company was named after me. Then I realized if I do this really good,
What was it?
the working name was Goodwin Communications. Before I actually really opened my doors, I realized that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if you actually get anywhere with this, you might need some help. And so that's where that went out the door really fast. And I said, okay, look. And so now, as much as I felt like I networked everywhere humanly possible, you eventually realize, as the company is like your baby, and eventually the baby starts growing up and it can now start standing to some extent on your own 2 feet, and you don't have to treat it like your newborn. At that point now the baby's grown up and the baby's feeding you. So when I get in that phase, at that moment, I'm saying this adult of a company, for what it's worth at its 26 years, feeds me like it feeds the rest of the staff. And so without that, we all don't eat, but we're going to go try to figure out some other way we're going to eat. But the baby is I need it to survive, and and that's how I eat. As much as the people that entrust PRI, that's how they eat. So I focused on the baby more than I focused on me. If I focus on the baby, it's going to feed me. That's my thought.
What's been your biggest takeaway from this? Having gone through 9/11, the recession, and now this, what was your biggest, learning moment from this particular world event? And has it changed anything about what you're doing going forward?
The biggest learning thing, remember how I told you that under stress, I would like to think I become better? People that I've looked to, probably mostly within PRI, I can point out people that I say that's happened. So I think that's interesting, that I can look at people that I would think that maybe you were maybe not a standout to me, but when the stress kicked in and the heat started coming, what do you need? We got this. We can do this. I'm here. But I don't know why. Why aren't you at home just sort of, just pulling within because of the world shutting down like this? So that's cool to see that in people. And you start seeing the exceptional ones, that period, that really, in the end of it, they don't need you. They don't need PRI. They got this figured out. They might not think they do, but they do. Because when the stress heats up, they know what they got to do to be able to make sure that they keep moving. And then you have some that you realize that'll just sit at home, prop up their feet and saying, oh, darn, that didn't work. Somebody's going to have to feed me. And forget about this type of scenarios. The real scenarios, the ones that I think the biggest learning thing is seeing the amount of people that's just rise up, and you see the true person that they are when called upon. That's a pretty cool thing. So I don't know if that's a learning thing, but that's something I definitely can say I've observed.
Well, a lot of people are looking at everything that's going on this year and talking about every year is this. 2019 was like the worst year ever. 2020, worst year ever. But other people are looking at it like all these things are happening to ignite people to be a better version of themselves at work and in their personal lives.
I would like to think that the world will be kinder. I commented about when I go to just starting going back to restaurants. I've seen a lot of people are, when you start, you have a new appreciation for the people that are making the food, that are serving the food, and vice versa. They seem to have a new appreciation for you going to their restaurant. So when you're at the grocery store, the checkout person now is not just going through their routine. I'm just saying in general, if that could keep on, which is going to be tough to think it will, but it would be nice to think in the midst of all this that we could have a nicer, be a nicer world. I don't know if we will. Right now, I feel that way. Right now, I feel like everybody is, when I started saying at the beginning, I said, right now, there's no competition. Right now, everybody just needs to stay alive. And we just all need, meaning their businesses just need to stay alive and get through this. If we can just stay alive, no matter whether we're limping along or whatever, just stay around. Just Stay around. That might be the biggest. The strategy might be is just to stay around.
I do want to touch on kind of, life after PRI, us all coming back together and starting to get back to work. We just did a major event last week that was very
Cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
We did a
Deep
we
word.
Deep
Cool.
Yeah,
It was
right.
very
I
deep
mean-
words. But we did the press conference for NASA, and the president was there, and the vice president, and a bunch of higher ups in the government for the launch of the new SpaceX rocket carrying 2 Americans up into space.
I got to tell you a story. I haven't told anybody the story. Okay. It felt good to get back to work. It felt good to talk about something else other than Corona. It felt good that the whole world is watching and we're in the middle of it and we're right there in the midst of it. And we're doing for the president, vice president, and there's Elon Musk, and you're right there and where all the shuttles are. I mean, I'm caught up in that, but I'm also caught up in that. Man, does this just feel, it matters more than I'm back at work and that you're doing cool things and you're doing what you love and you see how we're doing and what we're in the midst of and doing. I mean, I'm so caught up in that. And the way we even got the job, I'm out on my jet skis in the river and the phone kept ringing and I'm like, hello. I don't answer PRI. I say, hello. And they go, is this PRI Productions? And I said, yes. I'm trying to reach Randy. Yes, this is Randy. Hi, this is White House Communication. I'm like, oh, hi. And that's my world changed there for a week and a half. I immediately that same day drove down there to Kennedy Space Center and everything went from there. The interesting part about it, I was so wrapped up into it. Now, this is current news as of the last week. You love the fact that in some ways, aside from the horrible situation of this pandemic, the whole world and the whole United States and all Americans had to feel good about what was happening. And it's nice that the headline everywhere and what you're seeing on Facebook is talking about this SpaceX and Kennedy Space Center and everything. That was all really good. You're feeling really, really good. And then you come home. The world changed. The pandemic is on the 3rd page because the 2nd page is SpaceX. The 1st page is, oh my God, all around America, they're protesting everywhere. And that's what the news is talking about. When did Corona not get talked about until the 6:30 news, until 10 minutes till 7? I mean, that's just mind-blowing. What? You didn't think it would be possible that this scenario of emotions that was all over the place and how big the protest just, I don't know how you could plan that for 5 years about how you're going to change the world in this protesting with 1 million different meetings all around the United States. Well, if that didn't happen, you know what happened? Overnight, this thing just went nuts. And yes, when I came back to Jacksonville, it wasn't the same place that we left. And we're not talking about the pandemic and we're not talking about SpaceX, which you're feeling really good about being American. You're watching the news and it's like, oh my God, the world has changed again. And then, oh my God, here's the last part about it is before they got off the newscast and what they talked about the next morning when you hear ding, 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 what did they talk about? It's going to be the worst hurricane season that we've had in how many years? And I'm like, oh my God, we just moved to 4th page. The pandemic is on page 4. Now the hurricane, you heard this weekend something's happened. I just a little surprised by all of this.
What moment in your professional career are you most proud of? Getting that promotion, making the big sale, or building a masterpiece? When you look back, is it the thing you're proud of, or is it the feeling you get from it? And what feels better? Creating a windfall for you and your company, or spreading the benefits of your labor to your community? Is there a time and place for both? And if so, where should you put your focus?
You mentioned that, the space at NASA was a nice positive moment in the middle of all of this. What to you has been one of the most impactful moments over the career, personally or PRI driven, that you're just like, that was it, that was cool?
Okay, I got to go back to the beginning and explain it to what it means. I remember ironing a white shirt to get ready to go to work here at Brandon's Camera and making the decision, I'm going to start my own business because he's going to buy the business, and if I don't quit, that man's going to fire me. I remember going to dinner with some friends a week or two later, and they're like, why are you doing it? Is it to make a lot of money? I'm like, well, no, I never really thought that would be an option. So that's not why you started the company. And then I said, it was because I want to be well respected in whatever I do. So I really don't care you probably heard part of this. I don't care if I'm making donuts. I really don't care if I'm doing AV, because at that point it was just going to be an AV company, which is fine. I just want respect in whatever I do for a living. I want my opinion to matter. I want to feel like when I walk in there and they say, oh, good, Randy's in here, and they want to hear from me. That was such a motivator to me, because I felt like, I don't know, sense of validation of whatever it is in your professional career, that you have some sense of weight in whatever you would say. And so now Jackson was getting to Super Bowl. You speed up from 1984, now I'm at 2004. The end of 2004, we're probably in December of 2004, building up to Jacksonville Super Bowl in 2005. I'm sitting with the owners of the Jaguars, him and his wife, and I'm talking to them. We're sitting in their main conference room, and there's a lot of conversations, and they were disagreeing on napkin colors, okay? And the senior staff of the Jaguars at that time was all centered around there, and it was me sitting in the middle of the table with the owners. And we were referring to the NFL Owners Party. And in the end of it, they could not agree. They pushed it at me on the other side of the table. They pushed it all over to me, and it might have just been napkins. But when they said, I think we can at least both agree whatever Randy decides will be fine. So whatever Randy wants us to be about the decor, and if he wants us to be an entertainment, they were looking at the other people, that'll be fine. So whatever Randy says will work for all of us. And they ended the entire meeting. Now, as stupid as it was, because it was on the root of napkin colors, I'm telling you, you get your crazy. Like, that was cool to me, because obviously I have an insane amount of, look up to and admire the NFL owner, and still do, and just the industry, that whole NFL overall. So I found that to be very cool. Now, as I evolved from 2004 all the way up to a few years ago when we started doing our Dream Day, I find it genuinely more rewarding when whatever you do for a living can help better the world that you live in. It absolutely has a much better feel than having respect for what you do for a living. So I find PRI to just be nothing more than a vessel to the opportunity to be able to go somewhere and make a difference in someone's life. Is that not the foundation of how Dream Day came about? It's a lot of work. It wears me down. It takes a toll on this company, but that, along with many other things that you see this company does, absolutely is validation to me on this earth, is when you realize that you can make a difference, whether it's one person or multiple people. So I will challenge myself right now that these protests that are ignited by a fact that all Americans or all humans don't get an equal opportunity. I challenge myself, can you do anything? Can you do anything? You're not going to be able to change the world. You're not going to be able to change the minds of people that might be prejudiced, and on and on and on. But you can do something. You can do something. So if you look at the root of what gets me going and makes me feel alive, is going to be the fact that this company is used in some kind of opportunity to make some kind of difference in the world. That's what I would like to feel would be validation for PRI Productions' very existence. A lot more than saying, boy, they had some good speakers.
Before we get too far out of that, You mentioned Dream Day, which is one of the largest, coolest events we actually do here in our own office. Can you touch briefly on what Dream Day is and what it actually means to you, to somebody who might not know what it is?
Dream Day is a result of the fact that I was on the board of, and still am on the board of Dreams Come True, and I was recognizing that they were entering their 30th anniversary as PRI was getting ready to turn their 20th anniversary. They wanted to do something special. At the same time, I was looking for doing something special, but PRI has thrown some pretty cool, over-the-top sort of parties, and that was great. But I did not want to have, I wanted to have more meaning. The root of it was I wanted to have more meaning than having everybody get together and just party. I wanted to have some sense of substance. Again, going back to that sense of validation for what you do. I wanted to do something that had meaning. So I spoke up in that meeting and I says, why don't we find some of these children, Dreams Come True actually helps grant the dreams of children that are dealing with life-threatening illnesses. So I'm like, kids light up when they come into PRI because of all the things that we have in here. I says, why don't we just get some of these children and their families together and let's just throw them a big party. Their dream is not to come to PRI. So I don't want to take any of their dreams of where they want to go, wherever that may be. I just wanted that to be in my mind, our 20th anniversary was going to be that. It wasn't going to just be about a whole bunch of people getting together. I wanted it to have some substance, and it struck me very emotionally in a good way when I see this stories, saw what was happening, and I have one story, which was I was towards the event planners area, and a man walked up to me and he said, my son died a year ago today, and he knew who I was, and I didn't know him though. And I just says, that's awful. I'm sorry. He says, no, you're missing the point. They brought him back to life, and he's had a battle, and he's here today, and he was sitting right down there, coloring with our characters, and he started crying when I looked back at him. He was crying a whole lot. I said, you have no idea how much this means to me, because it was a year ago today that he was gone, and he made it, and he's still with us, and he's smiling, he's laughing, and he's been looking so forward to the 7 or 8 times. You know, it's hard to get those things out of your head when you start realizing, oh my God, you might not be able to change the world and everything you're doing right there for that moment in time. I mean, that really hit me pretty hard. Suddenly you're not quite as tired as you think you are.
Okay, let's say you started a company. You've taken a risk that most aren't willing to take. You've worked day and night to create value in your industry, and it paid off. You succeeded where so many failed. You have ownership and equity, and it's worth a lot. You've heard of people selling companies and sailing off into the sunset. But in the end, might there be something more valuable you gained along the way?
I do think we have a couple quick lightning round questions we want to ask.
So either one word answers or one sentence questions. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Kind of, just really quick.
Who's my
questions.
favorite employee? Is that what's that going to be one of them?
Obviously, it's going to be me. I mean, obviously. If you didn't live in Jacksonville, where would you live?
Heaven. I don't see me living anywhere else. And I think the interesting part is I don't know, lightning round, I'm sorry. I don't know if I ever had or desired or wanted to ever live anywhere else. And I don't feel like I have a sense of belonging if I was somewhere else. But at some point, God willing, I live long enough and you don't do this, which I love, maybe not every aspect, but I love this. If I didn't do this, I don't know. But I have no place in mind. I'll be here. I'll be on the outskirts of here. How about that?
What's your favorite place just to visit? And is there a place that you want to go that's at the top of your list?
I've been blessed to be able to see a lot of things I never thought in my life I would ever be able to be. I've already done more things than I ever would. But as far as a general thing of where would you like to go to feel like you got away? Super, super blue water, super, super white sand. Don't really care where. And it's nice weather. And you're with people that you care about. just being in that environment. I love that. I won't retire to anything like that because if vacation is not vacation, if you're there every day.
Yeah, it's not the place, not the place you are, but who you're sharing it with.
Yeah. So, but I love that visual of the super blue water. That's awesome.
What is your favorite thing about Jacksonville?
The people. Lightning round. I
Yeah.
answered. Were you expand?
It's very odd for you. It was a very short, straight to the point answer.
Randy never answers with one
I
word.
think I have one
It's
more.
it's not the buildings, not the roads. It's not our neighborhood houses. I mean, I can name a lot of things that's not, because you can take any one of those and I can name other cities that I think that might be cooler in that sense. But overall, what is it that you think is greatest about why you're here and why you always want to be here? The people. Ooh, maybe not every one of them. But the bulk of them, absolutely, what makes our city awesome are the people.
Have you ever had like that kind of like aha moment? Look at what I've built. I've done it. I'm successful.
Not in that sense of that. I don't feel that way because I feel like that this journey is not done. So there's no reason to think I'm going to stop and look back at that moment and say, look, because you're not here. You're no more than I'm here right now in regards to saying this is it. Turn around and look and see what was done. I'm not. Maybe when I'm retiring, I might do something like that. But right now, you're still heading somewhere. So you don't. Let me ask you this one: when Moses took all his people there into the desert, did he ever stop and turn around and say, "Look how far we walked"? I don't mean to be making comparison to that situation, but I'm just saying, no, you don't turn around and look when you're heading. You're determined and you keep on heading. So no, I don't have that.
All right.
So I do have one more question based on that then. Do you see yourself retiring soon, or would it be like
I would
you let go of PRI when you're dead?
I don't. No. I'm not going to be in my grave and come back to life and say, God, I just wish I could do one more event. Just one more. It's not like that. I would like to think that when the time comes that I have to, which I've already maybe, because of my age, you start slowing down just a little bit. You can't live on 2 hours sleep like you did back in the 90s. I would like to think that there can be some sense of evolving of PRI, that I can still be around, but I don't. If your back or your age is not allowing you to do everything you want to do, that you still want to be a part of it, and you would like to see it go on. I would like that a whole lot more than. And it never at one given moment did I ever in my entire PRI life ever think that there would be an exit plan that I sell it and it becomes another name and I just moved on and just sort of walked away and retired. Never once has that ever been a thought, because I didn't start it for the Monday. I sure am not going to end it for that same type of cash out, because you didn't start it. So there's nothing about it. What you want to do is try to eventually find that right combination. And I've tried it for 26 years to find that right combination. And you're not going to hire it. It's going to evolve. It's going to develop. And they're going to be put through the fire. And did they hang in there? And did they keep on? And can you trust? And can they enlighten you? And can they take you somewhere to the point that, fine, I'm not leading the people. I'll fall in line. And I can come in and still add value, but I'm not that leader. And I'm okay with that. I could see me actually saying, I have insight, but I'm out of touch. I mean, age eventually could get me a little bit more out of touch, and I can appreciate that.
Beyond the Bold is produced by PRI Productions, engineered by Alex Chapman, produced and edited by Leah Adams, Russell Pettibone, and Melissa Alexander. Our web and video team is Matt Oystacher and Adam Madrid. To learn more about what we do, visit priproductions.com and make sure to come with us next time when we go Beyond the Bold.